Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Michael Ennis. I'm a social studies teacher at Brown Education Campus in DCPS. The purpose of this video is to share with you the 7th grade distance learning plan of week 6 and 7. Our focus question is, does Alexander III deserve to be called great? The performance task that your students are going to have to accomplish is write an argumentative essay. For this essay, they're going to have to create their own criteria of what they think it means to be great, use evidence from primary sources, secondary sources, and my students are definitely going to have to include a counterclaim, but ask your social studies teacher what they think. With any of the packets, probably the most important page for you guys is the table of contents. Up at the top, you just have very brief directions, and then the learning standards, which I think are mostly for administrators. And this is the most important part for you guys. It's an outline of what to do for week 6 and week 7. As you can see, we have really 3 supporting questions. What makes someone great in history? What did Alexander III do? And then right here it should say, does Alexander III deserve to be called great for our performance task? Before we get into it, I just want to give you the slightest background information. Alexander III became ruler of the Greek Empire. He was a very brilliant military commander, and he definitely gained his power through conquest. Kind of the flow of this packet and the unit is, first you're going to think about what it means to be great. You're going to read through some primary and secondary sources about ancient Greek philosophers and their culture, kind of what they meant, or what they thought great meant to them. And then read a lot about Alexander III, and then make a decision whether you think he was great or not. The next section is really about pacing. This is what I'm going to suggest my students do from day to day, and I think it works out best. So for the supporting question 1, what makes someone great in history? You're going to start off by generating a list or a criteria of what actually great means to you. How do they treat people? Their lasting impact? It's really what you think. Then to finish out day 1, you're going to read a pretty good source on Socrates and then a source on Plato. And that should be your end of day 1. For day 2, you're going to conclude with reading about Aristotle and then filling out this graphic organizer about Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. There's a lot more work on day 1. And day 2 is a lot more reflective. Then for day 3, we're going to stop focusing on people and go to culture. There's a pretty lengthy document about math and science, art and architecture, religion, the Olympics, and language and literature. You're going to read and annotate it, and then as you do that, I suggest filling out this graphic organizer. I'm going to suggest to my students to do it piece by piece. So read and annotate math and science, fill out that part of the graphic organizer, and kind of bounce back and forth. That way, it doesn't seem like as much. Then for day 4, we're going to switch supporting questions. What did Alexander III do? Got to figure out what the heck he did before you can call him great or not. I'm going to point this out. In the directions, it says read and annotate the source below, color coding the evidence. You're going to choose one color for what you think is good, one color for what you think he did that was bad. Keep that same color because it's going to make your life a lot easier throughout the entire unit. So his biography is day 4, and then 4 pieces of evidence, what you think he did was great, 4 pieces of evidence, what you think he did was bad, and then overall you're going to create your claim, whether you think he was great or not. My students are going to have to give 3 reasons for this, but ask your social studies teacher. And this isn't your final answer, this is just what you think after reading his biography. Starting week 7, day 5, is going to be a continuation of what he did, Alexander III. This time you're going to read blurbs and excerpts from other people, all about Alexander III. For each source, you're going to have to decide whether he was a hero or a villain, whether he was great or not. Give a piece of evidence, and then explain your answer. If your students are anything like mine, this part is really crucial. Keep the same color coding system. It's going to help you out. Then for day 6, we're going to focus on the culture. So what was Alexander III's cultural impact? You have a couple analysis questions to answer, and then you're going to compile all your evidence. So give me the evidence. Does he deserve to be called great? Does he not deserve to be called great? And then make sure you include where your evidence is coming from, what source it's coming from. That is really important. You read a lot of sources, and you have to give credit where credit's due. Then day 7 and 8 is all about the essay. Here's one graphical organizer. This is not the one my students are going to do. My students are going to do the Foursquare that they know and love. And then there's paper for you to write your response. Hopefully this was helpful. I know this was a really quick overview. If you have any questions, please reach out to your social studies teacher. I hope you guys are staying safe.